lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we ride strong and proud. Running up the score, Kings never back down. If you don't like that, this ain't your town.
Perfect timing for the Kings Roundtable as Sacramento, to me, coming off their best win of the year, a signature win against the Houston Rockets, who have been playing very well. Good to have you with us here on If You Don't Like That, joined by Jerry and Rhino. Ryan, I know that you and Jerry had, this conversation at halftime with me, and then on your post-game show, there was a lot of very positive calls and comments, and I can understand why. Jerry, do you agree with me that's the best win of the year so far?
Oh, easily the best. Obviously Houston coming in really strong, solid second in the West, and a very physical team. And really the Kings just took over in the second half, which we haven't seen much of. So yeah, absolutely the best.
Completely agree. And, we didn't just see a response like we saw in Minnesota, where they just had to pull it off at the end. They kept responding. Yep. They dealt with adversity. You get 19 assists from your starting backcourt and only 3 turnovers. That's a winning formula.
And we saw the team healthy for the first time, really. They had their full complement of players. Kevin Huerter coming off the bench. I thought that he had a nice role in that game. Certainly the Rockets tried to rough up the Kings a little bit. I love the way the Kings responded. I mean, that was really important to me, Ryan, because, the label on this team is they're soft, and they're soft. Well, they weren't soft last night.
Yeah, and Mike Brown talked about that today with De'Aaron Fox. He's like, I don't want somebody to have to piss him off to play his best. The best are their best at all times. They get themselves going. And, maybe it's a little bit of Jay Crowder, Jerry. Maybe it's a mix of everybody being healthy. Maybe it's just a better team. But the Kings need to do that more consistently, Jerry.
Well, they do. I think that there's a couple of things that I think you can point to for the change of this team. I think Malik Monk as a starting guard and proven that he is really an outstanding playmaker. Really is a better playmaker than De'Aaron, and which De'Aaron's a great scorer, and that's what he's best at. But I think I've been surprised with, we knew that that Malik could make plays, but not to this level. And then, getting performances off the bench from Huerter was important. Getting Keegan Murray to have a good, solid second half, extremely important. But the other one, and I'll say, Isaac Jones. Isaac Jones is a find. And, quite honestly, I probably don't need to say it, but I'm not a fan of Jay Crowder. I think that ship has sailed. Isaac Jones gets more done. He's the guy going forward, and then Trey Lyles can fit to some level. But I think Isaac Jones is going to get some of those minutes when Trey comes back, because he's exactly what they needed. They would have loved to trade for somebody like that. He's probably 6'8", but he's extremely long. If you notice, he's short neck, long arms. He really plays like a 6'10" or 11 guy, and plays with force. That to me is just a super find. And now if they can get Keon Ellis, get that thing sorted out, whatever's going on there, then their bench is going to look pretty good.
Jerry, what impresses you the most about Isaac? For me, it's the fact that he runs the floor so effectively, with Mike Brown wanting the guys get to the corners, get to the pace, but he also seems to be a pretty quick jumper. There was a lot of talk about that in the chat last night.
Oh, he's a quick jumper, all right, and like I say, extremely long. And so, the guy can throw the lobs. They don't have to be perfect. He can take them and take them down. As you said, he sprints the floor. He's one of those guys, late developer. I love those kind of guys because they're hungry, and you can see it. He didn't play a lot and grew late in high school. Didn't even play the next year out of high school. Grew some more. I've always said, people say, oh, it's really unusual when you see somebody like that make it. Actually, some of the greatest players in the history of the game were late developers, whether it's Tim Duncan, Olajuwon, David Robinson, Larry Bird was. I mean, guys that nobody recruited heavily till probably senior year, if at all. And so even Michael Jordan was not considered a top 50 player in the country until the middle of his senior year. So, but I think those guys, and I guess my feeling is those guys remain hungrier, because they haven't had their butt kissed since they were 14 years old. And
All right, and now it's about consistency.
Yep.
We've seen flashes of this team in the first quarter of the season. Now let's see if you can take it on the road against a very good Memphis team who is coming off a loss last night at Dallas. They had a disastrous fourth quarter, but Memphis is good. They have a new offense. They're not all completely in sync yet, but they're winning a lot of games. They're up there at the top of the West. They're in the upper echelon. So let's now see if the Kings can build on last night.
Boy, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, you got good teams to beat, but if you want to, you got to play over 500. If you're, simple as that. Now you're still under 500. So, I would say this probably, even if they lost to Memphis, if they play great, I mean, it really needs to be at the stage now where this team's going out there and they're going to play well enough to win. That doesn't mean the other team isn't as well, but we've seen losses where the opposition didn't have to play outstanding to get a win. So that's what I'm expecting, and I think if that's what we see, we'll see a lot more wins.
Yeah, the game plan really isn't all that different against Memphis. They play incredible defense. They like to get up and down the court. They take a lot of shots. You got to protect the basketball. The Kings last night got 92 shots. That's more of the pace they want to play against a Houston team that likes to slow it down, play the half court, as you said last night, Jerry. So if you keep the turnovers to a minimum and they have that aggression, we should see similar results.
Yeah, and really, great point. I mean, Houston really does want to make it a slog, and they were able to slow the pace down a lot. I thought, but to the Kings' credit, they were efficient in the half court. I thought a real key we had talked about at halftime was DeRozan coming out in the third quarter and really establishing a game, and so they had another problem on their hand, and I thought that really set the tone almost as much as anything else.
It's going to be a fun game tomorrow. There's going to be a fun game because it's like last night. You're playing against a good opponent with a good record, and I thought the Kings did. I thought the game changed last night towards the end of the second quarter. To me, that's when it started last night. I really liked the final 3 minutes of the first half last night, and that carried over into the second half for Sacramento. That was very encouraging to me because we've seen, Ryan, a lot of bad quarters in the second half, whether it's a bad third quarter or a bad fourth quarter. As Jerry said, DeRozan, I thought Keegan Murray was big last night. That gives you a lot of hope going out onto the road. It really does.
Well, Grant, the ball's moving. I think that's so important. We've talked about that. They had 47 field goals. 33 of them were assisted. So everybody's getting into the flow of the game. The other thing is the Kings are coming out and making teams, or at least in the last two games, they're bringing the game to the other team. They're not feeling things out. They're not ringing around the rosy. They're bringing the punch to them with the clear change in the offense going to the pick and roll, Jerry.
Yeah, that was very effective, and like we mentioned earlier with especially Malik Monk and Sabonis, they're just terrific together. And, I thought too, Coach Brown, to his credit, I mean, they went small, used Keegan some as a center, Isaac Jones some as a center. I think you can get by with that in this league. Maybe not 48 minutes, but you sure can for 6, 8, 10-minute stretches.
Yeah, and credit to Domas. He was huge playing with those 3 fouls. He didn't pick up his fourth till, I believe, early in the fourth quarter.
That was a real key.
Yeah, he is. Domas is just so physical. I mean, he takes a lot of punishment, but I guarantee you he gives more than he gets. You can see guys around the league. They don't want none of him, because he'll sting them.
Well, as Jerry said, you're still under 500. You're still 12th in the West, and it's just one game. It's a big game potentially if you can build on that, when you look at the other teams in the West, Kevin Durant's going to be out a week or two again with an ankle. And we saw what happened when Durant was out recently. The Suns had trouble winning. They are now 12-8. But you got Oklahoma City, Houston, Dallas, and Memphis, your top 4 teams. Memphis is 14-8. They have won 7 of 10. They're coming off a loss to Dallas, who's also 14-8. So here's something else about Memphis. They've been very good at home at 10-3. And that's, to me, still the Achilles heel of this Sacramento team. They are good at home. They need to get good at home like a Memphis. All right. 10-3. That's what you expect if you're a good team, Jerry. You always talk about that. Those are the type of numbers you expect to see from good teams. That's what you need. And the Kings are nowhere near that.
Yeah, nowhere near that. And that's exactly, we've talked about it before. But yeah, if you're going to be a contender or even a high playoff team, you have to have not just a winning record at home,
a good record.
Yeah, say you really need to get to 30 wins. But the Kings 5-7 now. That's better, but that's still among the better teams in the league. That's the worst.
All right. Well, let me run this down. These are all home records now. Oklahoma City 9-2, Houston 9-3, Dallas 8-3, Memphis 10-3, the Clippers 9-4, Phoenix 8-4, Golden State 5-3. Denver 6-4, the Lakers 7-3, San Antonio 6-4, Minnesota 7-4, Sacramento 5-7. What a huge difference that is! Huge.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. And it's been that way really for the last several years. I mean,
it's been that way since they moved into the new building.
They just haven't. So whatever they're doing, I don't know what they're doing on a home game basis. But my suggestion would be do something different. It ain't working.
Go stay in a hotel.
Yeah. Treat it as a road game.
No, but it's very puzzling to me. I mean, I just read off all the numbers. It's baffling to me. It's just absolutely baffling to me. What is not baffling to me is the great food at Bennett's, because that is what I expect. That's what I get when I walk into Bennett's, whether it's the West Side Grill in Rockland. Prime seafood and steak. Brian and his staff, they do a phenomenal job. Hope you can enjoy the holidays at Bennett's. Don't forget about their daily happy hour sips and tastes from 2 to 6. And they have great share plates, tremendous prices on the wines, over 60 different types of wine available by the glass. To make a reservation, just go to bennettsrestaurants.com. That's bennettsrestaurants.com. I also want to tell you about the newest residential community in Calusa. It is Sunrise Landing. It is from Blazona Development. You go to calusasunrise.com. You'll get all the information you need on these beautiful models. No Mellorews, no homeowners, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Good access to the major arteries like I-5. Folks, it's all there for you. CalusaSunrise.com. Anything at Sunrise, again, that is Calusa Sunrise and Sunrise Landing. Kings on the road, a back-to-back. Memphis, then at San Antonio. San Antonio is also playing tomorrow at home, so both teams will be on equal footing when they play each other. But the Spurs have 2 wins against Sacramento this year.
Well, they're a much improved team, and for whatever reason, Wembanyama has just had a breakout games against the Kings, especially shooting the 3-ball. There's game I've watched him a lot of games. He doesn't shoot it very well, and so I don't know.
Everybody shoots the ball well against Sacramento from the perimeter.
It sure does. I mean, that's been the ongoing Achilles heel, so to speak. I thought looked like they did a little better job covering up last night, but we'll see. You got to see it with other teams down the road.
If you bring half of the physicality and half of the pick and roll defense that you brought last night to Houston, San Antonio, Wemby, he's not getting the shots off that he's gotten in the first 2 games. The Kings can definitely make up there.
Well, Ryan, one of the things I was talking to on King's Herald thing, and they're talking about things that maybe could be changed. And I said, the switching every position, 1 through 5. I said, when you're switching on the high post like that, 1, I mean, you got a mismatch at 2 spots. You've got Domas guarding Chris Paul out high, and you've got Malik Monk guarding Wembanyama low. And what that does in low, I mean, obviously, you're going to give help immediately to Monk, and that opens up the corners for the 3s. I mean, I don't have a problem switching, but you should never switch 1 and 5. I mean, that's just simply
It's
you're
just
just
stupid.
asking, it's just asking for mismatches.
Yeah, and Jerry, also on the flip side, when they're not switching, the guy that's flashing out off of the pick is now making somebody in rotation step up to the roller, which leaves open that wide open three. So now if you step up to the roller, you've now got to run out and get to the three. And so the Kings need to be better about those hedges. They've got to be able to communicate more there.
Yeah, the big thing is you've got to always be able to get back to the three. If you're leaving your man, you could leave to help, but only with the idea you can get back if you have to. And then I think the other weakness I see is we're seeing help coming from the opposite side too.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
you don't need it from both sides. And
Exactly.
so it's one thing to leave, where one guy probably has to take a bigger chance to help out, but the other side doesn't. And so don't be in the middle of nowhere. So there's a lot of the little things become big things if you don't clean them up.
Jerry, let's go around the league and talk about some other teams. And in the East, have you watched Cleveland play much? I mean, I look at what they've done. They're 12-1 at home. They're 7-2 on the road. They have a point differential of plus 10.5. They're 19-3. That's amazing.
It really is. I mean, I think Coach Atkinson's done a great job there. He's really got the guys buying in. Number one, defensively they're better, but I think just on a eyeball test, Evan Mobley is being used so much better and so much more consistently. He was kind of a forgotten guy last year, but with Garland and Donovan Mitchell dominating everything, and they're still terrific, but they're making sure they get Evan Mobley involved.
Interesting.
And he's a big time talent.
And then, guys, how is Orlando playing so well without Banchero? I mean, that's amazing to me. I mean, they lost last night to the Knicks, but they're 15.
Granted, it's defense. They play excellent defense. They're up in passing lanes. They're great in transition. Tristan Da Silva, a guy that the Kings looked at out of Colorado, ready to plug and play in the NBA as a senior. Absolutely doing good stuff for them, stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And they play as a team. They just bring it every night. It's tough to score on them.
And they've got a deep bench. Number one, that strikes me. They really do have a deep bench. And then one thing a little bit unusual, I think, with them, their guard line, Suggs and Caldwell Pope. I mean, that's big time guard defensively.
Great point.
I mean, they really can control a lot of teams right there.
And then the Kings, the two games we know were added was New Orleans on the road and then a home game against Denver. The Pelicans coming out that Zion Williamson is still at least 2 weeks away. I don't even think he's coming back until after the first of the year. I just don't see it. They're done. I mean, it doesn't really matter who comes back. They're too far out of it at 4-18. But what they will be able to do is if they get healthy, like in February when they play the Kings 3 times in 10 days, that could have an impact in whether this Kings team makes the playoffs or not. So don't think that these games are not going to be important, even though they're going to be out of the race. I think they're too big of a hole, guys. Even if they were to get everyone healthy, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they can come out. But like you said, they would scare the heck out of me in February. Zion's playing. DeJounte Murray is still sorting himself out, with McCollum. That can be a good guard line, but it hasn't really did it yet. They're a team that can be a real spoiler.
They, to their credit, though, they play hard. They play hard. They picked up a win here and there. The one thing that I would say is you didn't beat them one time last year. So you've got to come out with some fire and not treat it like a game that we should win. You got to bring it.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit more about tomorrow's matchup. Memphis is for real. We thought they would be good this year if they were healthy. And I'll tell you, they survived some bad injuries. They survived not having Morant for a while. They've had some issues. They're deep. They're talented. They're well coached. They're going to be in the mix this year. Don't write off Memphis. They're going to be in the mix for the whole season, barring injury. They're that good, guys.
Oh, I mean, their guard line, too, when you got John Morant, Desmond Bain, who was at Jaren Jackson Jr., really is obviously he's what I would call the absolutely perfect fit with Domantas Sabonis. A guy that can guard centers and shot block and shoot threes, which is what he does at a big time level. And they've got a rookie that he's been hurt, to Zach Edey, that gives them some legitimate rookie minutes at center. And you have to strategize for him because he's unique. So I think they'll be there. And it really does come down to Ja. He's got to stay healthy, and among other things. And certainly, really, he looks like he's matured a lot, as he should. His maturity level is due, but it certainly appears that that's the case.
Well, it couldn't have gotten any worse. It couldn't have dropped lower than what it was. I mean, that's for sure.
No doubt. Hey, they've also got some guys that are really stepping up in places. Jalen Wells, their other rookie behind Dalton Connect. He's the second
rookie
leader
of the month.
Yes, rookie of the month. He finds a way to get good looks from beyond the 3-point line, fits really well as their small forward. And what about Scottie Pippen Jr.? He's had some big games so far this year, Grant and Jerry.
Yeah, he with everybody back, he's not playing as much. But when Ja was out or Desmond was out, he's playing. He's a guy that really a lot of teams ought to be looking at. If you're really trying to bolster your backcourt, I mean, he can play two positions, but he's a legitimate. He's probably, he's probably ready to be a starter. It's on a good team or a reasonable team.
Hey, don't forget that tomorrow on the post-game show, I Need a Rant with Grant. It is brought to you by EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. You go to edhmotors.com. You'll get all the information you need. This is a long overdue new concept. David and Adam, just two guys trying to do something different, trying to do something better. Go to edhmotors.com. Get all the information you need. Get in contact with David or Adam. And remember, you'll take delivery at their auto lounge at the El Dorado Hills Town Center. No dealership, none of that pressure. You're not getting pushed into the F&I office. It's a fabulous concept. They have over 4 decades of experience in the automotive industry. That's EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined at edhmotors.com. And remember, a rant with Grant tomorrow on the postgame show.
Love EDH. Can you show up with your RV towing your car and your boat and just give them full range? Take care of it, boys.
Yes. You'll have to make sure that you have a sufficient space available for parking, but we can arrange that for you, Ryan. If that's something that you have, your RV with your boat and your vehicle, I will personally make sure that you have proper space. Okay. I won't even put that on David and Adam. I'll handle that myself. Okay.
Thank you, Nabes.
No motorcycle. What's going on here?
That's on the top of the RV, Jerry. We don't need space for that.
Yeah, right? We don't need that.
Absolutely. And I'll meet you there, Ryan. Okay. I'll escort you in, and I'll make sure that I'm there. I'll be when the plane, the gate,
right there holding the sign. Perfect.
Right. I'll make sure. Right.
Got
Absolutely.
It. Perfect.
Yeah. I'll do that for you, Ryan. I don't do that for many people. For you, I will do that for. Okay.
You'll be an employee for the day. I love it.
Yes. Absolutely. So what do you think tomorrow? What is Fox and Morant's always must watch TV. I've always enjoyed watching those two go at one another. But again, Memphis is really good at home, shown that they can, answer the bell on the road. I actually feel more confident with the Kings on the road than I do at home. I'd be surprised if this isn't a game that's up for grabs with 5 minutes to go. That would surprise me tomorrow.
I would be too. No, I think the Kings, these teams match up pretty well, really. Certainly, I think the bench might very well be the difference. Memphis bench has been pretty good, solid. They got a terrific player. Sante Aldama comes off, but a 7-footer can shoot, and but they've got some solid. Scottie Pippen Jr. So I kind of think for the Kings to win, they don't have to win the bench battle, but it has to be close.
Yeah, I said it at the top. They've got to be smart with the ball, and they've got to play without fouling. Memphis will foul you. They are the 3rd worst team in fouling in the NBA. So the Kings last night, they did not make their free throws. They got to do that. But a lot of games in Memphis seem like they come down to the wire. And no Zach Edey tomorrow either, still out with his ankle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Memphis is coming off a loss last night where they were in control of that game through three quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, Dallas made a living at the foul line and they pulled away at the end. And so Memphis is coming off a loss. I think you're going to get the A version of the Memphis Grizzlies. And again, at the Grindhouse, they're very good. Jerry, we've always, gosh, I never really, other than a few games, I've never found the atmosphere in there to be daunting. But there was something about playing. Maybe it's because Memphis was always good. It seemed like with when they had, their heyday and they were making their run with Zach and Gasol and, they had such a good team. But that never seemed to be an energized building that loud. The place was always half empty when we were there, it seemed like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's one of my least favorite places for sure. Just the town itself.
It's terrible.
A beautiful arena, but yeah, it was never
horrible.
You never had the atmosphere you have in probably 15 other arenas. I mean, there's some that are pretty much laid back. Atlanta's kind of like that. You go in there and play the game, and they're like, "Oh, thank you very much for coming," type stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
But
yeah, no, that's worst hotel on the road. I hated going to Memphis too. I other than my good buddy Eric Hasseltine, who I love seeing, and then I love going there because we could go look at the men's clothier at the Peabody Hotel that's still in business thanks to Jerry Reynolds' purchase of his slacks years ago. So that warms my heart when I walk by and I see Lansky Brothers, and they actually now have a picture of Jerry when you walk in, thanking him for his great business.
Yeah, kept him in business for a year at least on that profit.
Hey, the same tailor that worked on your pants worked on Elvis Presley's.
Yeah,
that's right.
Now, if that were really true, and don't get me, I would gladly, have paid that much because I'm an Elvis fan. I mean, but I somehow don't think the King really did get all of his stuff there. That's just a thought.
Well, okay, so it's false advertising at Lansky Brothers, huh?
Well, I'm sure they might have made something for him, but don't get me wrong.
Actually, I should retract that because we are on the internet, and I don't want to piss anybody off. I don't know if Lansky Brothers uses Elvis Presley in their marketing or not. It's just that it's like I don't even know if it's we just knew it when you stayed at the Peabody. It's almost like Elvis Presley. You see pictures of him everywhere in Memphis, and it seemed like there was a connection with Elvis and that the Lansky Brothers. I will say one thing: if you do go to Memphis, Lansky name in that city, they have been in business for a long time, and I really mean this. I used to always walk into their shop, and I would also tell you, in all honesty, I didn't buy anything because it was the prices. It was a very fine men's clothiers. Jerry knows it. Didn't you pay $300 for your pants?
Yeah, $289. This is right. That was
$289. No, I mean
15 years ago, and
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
honestly,
but
great
like
stuff.
you said, Grant. I mean, the thing the Peabody was the classy hotel, if there was one in Memphis, and that was certainly a classy shop. So, but then, as you know, the last few years we didn't stay there, and the hotel we stayed at wasn't anywhere near of the same caliber.
No,
but it was just handy.
Not.
It was just handy right across the street from the arena.
Yeah.
Well, I do know I do know we have that 280. How did you explain that to Miss Reynolds, by the way, Jerry?
Well, I explained it. It's like I didn't have any pants. Even she understands that. I mean, now she like me said, why didn't you just think about doing something different or jeans, or you could have just had a headshot? I said, well, I didn't think about that. I was panicking.
Hey, I get it. When
I made it very clear to Jerry on TV that I said, well, Jerry, you do realize when we're doing our job, we are only seen from basically the mid chest up. He looked at me. He's like, yeah, I didn't really think about that. Hot Rod Hundley, the great late Hot Rod Hundley, the longtime voice of the Jazz, always wore jeans with cowboy boots, always with a jacket and tie. I never saw Hot Rod in anything other than jeans and cowboy boots. So I let Jerry know that would have been appropriate for that particular game had he come in jeans. Now, the funniest thing that ever happened in all of my years of working with Jerry. And I want to say we might have been in Memphis. John Barry was on the Kings, and we're on camera, and the Kings are behind us in the layup lines. And JB gets on his hands and knees behind Jerry and rolls up his pant legs above his knees. And Jerry's there on live, tilts down, and there's Jerry, his black shoes, black dress socks with his pants like knickers rolled up above his knees, courtesy of John Barry. Now, you have to understand, as I'm doing my live hit, I'm like literally trying not to pee my pants and cry in tears as I'm watching this unfold. And it's one of the funniest things that I've ever experienced on camera.
Well, and I knew something was happening, but I was getting ready, I had to talk. And so I wanted to stay, you got to stay focused on the camera. And I was thinking, is there some animal crawling up my leg?
In an NBA arena.
Oh, yeah, John Barry. Hard. Yeah, that was a one to remember, as it was.
Jerry, it's a good day not to have worn your athletic socks with your slacks. There's some people that do that. Good day.
Yeah, that was a classic. I'll tell you what else is a classic. New Works Plumbing, they're awesome, and they're available around the clock 24/7 for your plumbing needs and repairs. You go to sackserviceplumbing.com or you call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. Remember, folks, middle of the night, 2 in the afternoon, whatever the case may be, they'll be there for you. They do a great job. sackserviceplumbing.com, New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. Final thoughts, guys, before we adjourn and get ready for a huge day tomorrow?
Well, I'm just looking forward to the Memphis game and the next few games to see if, in fact, they have turned a corner. I feel like they have, but until you see it as you pointed out, I mean, we got to see it consistently. Doesn't mean you got to win every game, but they need to be in a position to win every game against whoever they play, and that's. So we'll learn a lot this very next game against a really good Memphis team.
Very true.
Absolutely.
Very
and Lucas,
true.
bonjour. We got Lucas watching from Paris. Hope that you're enjoying everything in Paris, France. Rhino, what about you?
Well, I want to highlight Rich's comment. He went to see the Stockton Kings, who are playing really good basketball down in Oceanside. Very cool. And the reason I want to highlight it is this: for the second year in a row, we are talking about an undrafted player that was identified by this organization that is now getting minutes on this team and putting himself into a position where he may be elevated to a full-time roster spot. That is not something that happens in every organization. And the fact that that's happening 2 years in a row, it's a lot of credit to the front office, especially down in Stockton, Gabriel Harris and their team for identifying, developing, and look at how it's helping the team right now, guys.
Very well said. Absolutely. I mean, there are players available all over the world. The key is finding them and then developing them, Jerry. You know all about that.
Yeah, they've done a marvelous job here. I agree with Ryan. I mean, and like you say, when you can find two guys like that will be in your rotation, that's remarkable within a 2-year period. And like I say, I think Isaac Jones is really a guy that can help make a difference, an actual difference on this team. And so far, everything we've seen indicates that.
All right. Tomorrow, we got the Kings Court with Rhino. I will be coming your way tomorrow as well. Looking forward to the game. I will do a show at 4:00. Get you ready for the Thursday night football slate, and then the Kings and the Grizzlies. So I'll do a show. Rhino, what time's the pregame? 4:30? I'll just do a 25 minute show at 4:00.
We'll just make your show the pregame.
All right. You want to come on with me at 4 and we'll just do the Kings pregame and then okay. All right. We'll do that because we got the Kings and the Grizzlies early start time tomorrow, but I do want to do a show because I want to talk some football and some other things going on. But we'll make it the Kings pregame, but we'll talk about some other things as well. Jerry, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. And we'll look forward to chatting with you tomorrow at halftime.
Really looking forward to it, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks,
Thank
Jerry.
you to everyone else. Really appreciate it.
Buy a motorcycle, Ryan, so you can tack that on to everything else.
By a motorcycle.
By a
Absolutely.
motorcycle, yeah.
See you guys.
Yeah. All right. See you. That's
Later,
good
buddy.
stuff with Jerry Reynolds. Appreciate it. And don't forget, if you missed the show today with Sean Salisbury, you can check it out. I put it on the podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, everything else, or you can go look at YouTube, whatever the case may be. Good talk today with Sean Salisbury. See you tomorrow, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.